the very people who should be working in the best interest of the animals. We have a high number of rescues in this town, both established 501c3s and some that are operating under the radar. And it's apparently become very fortuitous for individuals to start an entity and start collecting money in the expressed efforts to rescue animals. So what I want to do is I'd like to touch upon just some examples of situations, all of which have occurred under 501c3 rescues. These are just a few. It's a tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more. There may be some people in attendance tonight that might wish to add comments to this. There are a lot more out in the community who've been contacting me with information that's of considerable concern. So, okay, we have a dog that was kept in a windowless box for years, regularly sitting in his own feces and amid putrid food with next to no exercise or stimulation. Animals denied the basic physical and emotional needs such as vet care, exercise, enrichment, and sufficient food and water. There's been a dog who had an untended ear infection for 2 years. I'm not a vet, but I can only imagine his pain and the potential hearing loss he may have sustained. There are animals treated like inanimate objects and warehoused outdoors year-round where they're subjected to the elements and hordes of flies who eat them alive and basically drive them crazy. We have animals who've been rendered kennel crazy and thereby unadoptable. Animals kept in cages inside dark enclosures where they never see the light of day or receive adequate nourishment. Hoarding, of course, that's nothing new. The allowance of breeding within certain rescues, and that's strictly for profit. So these animals are being treated like commodities rather than rescue victims. Donor fraud, deception of adoption partners. And I can go on, but I've personally already seen enough that basically tells us we have some irresponsible and harmful rescues who are negatively impacting all the good ones who are working so hard in our town. I think if this continues, we're going to have more investigative stories by the media. It's going to impact the rescue community very negatively. And the problem is that the burden of this is going to fall on animal control, it falls on the remaining rescue community, it falls on the shelters. So clearly, we need to do something. Up until now, we've only had individuals who've been trying to remedy the problem. Can I continue?
Yes, please do.
Thank you. So, the individuals who are trying to do something about this issue are met with retaliatory tactics such as restraining orders, threats of legal action, which is baseless, even physical violence. And I find that kind of strange because if you have an entity that's a 501c3, I would think that they have to understand that they're accountable and they have an obligation to the public to be transparent. Some of these rescues are anything but that. So I would like to propose that we create a task force to address the issues, to implement appropriate regulations, and to provide a resource for whistleblowers who don't always know where to turn. And this latter one is of the utmost importance. There are people who have direct knowledge who want to report it to someone and they're either afraid or they don't know where to turn. If we have a task force in place, backed by commissioners and with some teeth to either work with Metro or Animal Control to make sure that we can remedy some of these problems, I think that we can help clean up some of these issues and that way we can protect all the other folks who are doing such a great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
The task force on animal cruelty that Metro started, I think also the FBI is partnering with them. Would that be, Keith, do you know? I mean, I know they haven't presented to us yet, and I know I spoke with Metro a couple months ago about what they were doing, and they were still kind of getting it together. I don't even know if they've had a formal meeting yet, but do you know if that would be a resource for the public to report?
I would think that would be the agency or the entity that would probably work on that. That is something that's been a concern for quite a long time. The condition and how animals in the hands of the various rescues are cared for and all that stuff. maybe something that we probably need to think about getting on the agenda for next year, and definitely asking that Metro Task Force if they want to get involved with policing the rescue groups.
Just to follow up on that, thank you for presenting. Thank you for being here. Okay, hold on one second. Just to add to that, I know the legislature has talked about this, and it's certainly a major problem, but in Nevada, it's so easy to get a 501c3. I mean, that has been a major issue, not just in the animal protection community. So I would definitely look at that as a larger issue if you're interested in bringing that up next session, since that is obviously, I mean, that's a fraudulent problem.
Do I have any more input from the committee? All right, seeing none, move on to the next public comment, and I do ask, my ground rules are, let's be civil. This might get a little warm. Let's not get too unfriendly about it. All right, thank you. Go on.
My name is Ralph Banks. I live at 574 Greenberg Point Avenue. Just to add to this, I was actually one of the people that was trying to brought in to take 63 animals. I'm not a 501c3, but I was the only one that had the ability to put animals places. When I went in to assess some of these animals, they were cage crazy. They wouldn't be able to be handled. I stepped into the situation. I caught heat on both sides, from friends, from not friends, and I was one of the people that were verbally attacked. I do verbally attack back, obviously, but I mean, I work with an aggressive breed. I'm known as a pit bull guardian. That's what I work with, is aggressive breeds. When I walk in here, I have Akitas, I have Chihuahuas that were worse than pit bulls that were in this place. None of those dogs can be handled. I tried my hardest to work with them as a trainer. I couldn't even get some of these dogs out. I was in that situation with 63 dogs at one property and about 200 dogs at another property. So we're talking about a massive amount. That the reason I stepped in was to try to take some off of animal control because they can't handle these dogs. A lot of them are going to be put to sleep. I did what I could. It ended up in a huge confrontation. I backed out. They backed out. So now we're sitting in the situation we are now with all these animals, close to 300 total in a bad situation. Also on top of that, like she said, rescues that do not have a 501c3s that I've been dealing with. They have accounts at vets. They have not paid their taxes since 2014, and they're still acting as a rescue. It's just ridiculous. And me, I'm boots on the ground. I get take dogs off the street. That's what I concentrate on, to try to help animal control as best as I can. But I can only do so much as a civilian. So that's pretty much what I want to add to it, is that I was one of the people that was actually stepping into this situation, and these dogs, as a trainer, are not manageable. So, and this is just due to the time that they've sat in these cages. So, I just wanted to add that.
I think one thing that we all have to recognize is, and it should be pretty obvious, that there are private individuals, not 501c3s, who are outstanding players who are doing tremendous good. And there are 501c3s, which is, by the way, simply an IRS status. It's not any kind of grade shakes, who are not responsible players. And, the mechanisms for policing, for monitoring, for, trying to sort out the good players from the bad players is woefully short. Unfortunately, it's, that's one of the areas in the animal welfare world that we are coming up short on. So anyway, thank you. Next, Gina.
Good evening. For the record, Gina Grayson, Nevada Voters for Animals. I think anyone involved in animal welfare is going to be concerned if there's animals that are being abused or mistreated or whatever. And I'm actually concerned and about some of the ways that I feel that the spirit of and the intent of Cooney's law is being violated right now in some cases. It was pretty clear in the 2011 legislative session that felony cruelty cases were going to be reserved for the most heinous types of cruelty, and there were examples given. So there's hopefully going to be some discussion with the DA's office, and I just met with them yesterday, and with the Metro Cruelty Unit, and get sort of everyone on the same page, because we fought for that. As the author of the law, when I'm concerned, I hope that people would actually, say, maybe we should take a look at this and see what's going on. I absolutely have concerns as well with the animal welfare community and how mean-spirited a lot of the people are. Who needs enemies when you have some of the people that are in animal rescue that just attack each other viciously on a daily basis. It's sad. And what I would say is, at the same time that everybody wants to make it easier to anonymously report, I think it's also important to put in place measures as a victim of vile retaliatory behavior earlier this year with fake phone calls and people pretending to be old ladies and people pretending to be my neighbors. And I asked for an investigation through animal control, they refused. There was nothing against the law about picking up the phone and calling and pretending to be someone you're not and making vile accusations which were completely unfounded. There was absolutely nothing illegal about that. So while we're looking at certain ways, and I would be glad if anyone is interested, I'd be glad to send you the link to, it's on SoundCloud, the recordings. That we also make it illegal for people who make unfounded claims and libelous and slanderous accusations against other rescuers or people. I thought that we were supposed to be compassionate and we were supposed to be lifting each other up and helping each other. And as evidenced by the way, thank you C5, which Keith Williams has voted, recognizing Carol Fox and all the work she's done. We should be helping each other and congratulating each other and celebrating victories together instead of just slashing and burning, which is what's happening right now in my animal community. Even last night, I've actually, just the things that happened last night with the dead dog and trying to find this dog's body and trying to get justice for a dog, the viciousness that went on. There's so many keyboard warriors out there these days. I would hope that we would be kinder and gentler to each other.
Please
Sorry,
continue.
thank you. And thank you, Keith, for bringing up the inviting. I wasn't sure if we were going to make it on time because we had a puppy that we were trying to rescue today. It's very important, I believe, because there is segments of the animal community that would like to be more aggressive and more sort of vigilante-like, and hopping walls, stealing animals, things like that, making threats. We don't want that. We try, many of us who run pages or are involved in animal welfare, we fought very hard for the laws, and we need to fight to make sure that the authorities are going out and doing investigations and doing what they need to be doing the work. That was part of the issue that I had last night. And we're going to deal with those issues. It bothers me when there's somebody attacks me on animal control and they're completely unfounded. But then when there is issues, we do need to deal with them and hold that agency or whichever agency is responsible accountable. But there's just attacks right and left. No one knows what's real and what's not anymore because social media, everything must be true, right? I would love to have the Metro Cruelty Unit come out and not only talk about what they're doing and how this is emerging, because it's all still new, we're learning all together. But to actually do a Q&A with those, really invite, I want to fill the chambers with all the rescue community who have questions about, well, what if this happens, or what if that happens? Who's involved? When is it animal control's responsibility? When does it escalate to where it be Metro's responsibility? And what do? We need to really look at how we're seizing animals, what we're doing with those animals in the meantime. I think there's some legal issues that we're going to have to get overcome with the way that we're handling some of these cruelty cases. But, as long as we're communicating and everyone's learning along the way and we're sort of doing it together and we're on the same page, I think that's going to be good. So I think it's going to be very good to have a big Q&A type session, you know, let's explain what the law is, let's explain what the parameters are, let's explain how you can help, you know, and without getting in trouble, you know, or violating the law. So I highly encourage that, and I hope, you know, with Thanksgiving coming up, we can just all be thankful for the strides that we have made in animal welfare and just be a little kinder and gentler to each other. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have anyone else interested in public comment? I see a hand.
Hello, Tara Massa. I have a question for you.
Come on up to the microphone, name, address, tell us who you are, and then, got your 3 minutes.
Tara Massa, Southwest Las Vegas. I have a question for you. So, when you have these, you know, dogs or animals that, you know, are unruly, what do you do? You said you're, you know, a trainer, you know what I mean?
Okay, what's your point?
So, for example, I have a pup, he's really bad, he's hyper.
Excuse me, is this perhaps something that would be best handled one-on-one between you after the meeting? Or is this something that us as the committee and the public, you know, needs, do you have a comment, or do you just have a question for him personally?
Well, no, for everybody, I just, you know, would like to know how everybody would recommend this gentleman would handle a situation with these animals that cannot be trained.
And, you know, I think that's kind of beyond the scope of, you know, this is public comment. I really don't think we need to get into nuts and bolts of dog handling and dog training at this particular time. Like I said, I'm sure that he and, you know, probably most any of us would be happy to have a discussion with you after the meeting tonight about nuts and bolts of that kind of thing, but that's just not really what needs to happen right now.
Well, thank you. And I just do have one last comment. I do think, though, that every animal can be trained or given a second chance, so I don't want to rule out that these animals ever cannot be trained, because we can.
And I'm certainly not going to disagree with you. All right, do we have any other public comments? Seeing none, we will close that item down. Our next item is to set our next meeting date. And I've received a note letting me know that